Hello, welcome to Post Colonial Space. I'm Masood Raja, and today I'll briefly talk about admissions into PhD programs in the United States and to some extent in Canada. Someone recently sent me a query about whether or not to accept an unfunded admissions offer. So by that, what I understand is that you've been accepted into a PhD program in the United States or in Canada, but they have not offered you any scholarship or any funding. Personally, I will not accept an offer like that unless you're exceedingly rich and you can afford to pay, because of a couple of reasons. One, most research universities in the United States worth their name if they have established PhD programs do not accept unfunded students. They only accept the students who make the cut and whom they can fund. How are these students funded? They usually give you a small stipend, plus they waive your tuition fees, right? So that means your degree is by and large free, and you get paid for your labor, which is usually teaching some classes or doing some research work. My experience is in humanities only. In sciences, it could be that you work as a lab assistant with a professor, or maybe you also teach some courses. So when a university accepts someone without funding, it's a little bit suspect, because that means that they want to increase their doctoral numbers, but they don't have the funds to do so. And in case of international students, you should be very careful, because you want to get your doctoral degree from an accredited, prestigious but established university. Another thing is that the international students make a lot of money for universities. In the United States, we have rules which decide if the tuition is going to be in-state or out-of-state. International students are considered out-of-state students, so usually they pay double the in-state rate. So that means not only will you be paying for your PhD, you will be paying double the rate of normal in-state students. So keeping this in mind, the expense can be huge. If you spend 5 years on your degree and there is no promise of giving you funding, they might give you 20 hours a week work on campus, but that is not going to pay for your degree. That's not going to pay for your expenses. So keeping this in mind, that most likely the university is probably not an established university or is trying to make money out of international students, and that it's going to end up costing you a lot, I highly advise against accepting a doctoral admission without full funding. Sometimes it can be partial and then you can do your math, but most of the times you should be fighting for full funding. There are a few steps you can take. If you are sent a letter that you've been accepted into the program and there is no funding, maybe you can write to the department chair or the admissions office and explain to them that, you're from a post-colonial nation state. You cannot afford to pay. So will it be possible to gain some funding, or can you apply for certain scholarships? But by and large, if you've applied to US or Canadian universities for a doctoral program, especially in humanities, and if they accept you without funding your degree, I would be really careful in accepting it. I personally will not accept it. But keep in mind that you have better options. If you apply widely and target schools that absolutely always fund their doctoral students, your chances will be better. Now, also keep in mind that applying to more than at least 10 schools for a doctoral program is the norm. And then chances are, if you're successful, you'll be offered funding and you won't have to pay a lot to get your PhD. Now, I do have a full course on Udemy on this, on how to apply to US universities, what to do from the beginning to the end of the process, and I will post a link to it. But right now, just to answer a question in a long kind of way, is that be careful and think twice before you accept admission in a doctoral program where they absolutely are not funding your doctoral studies. I hope this is useful to you. Let me know what you think, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I have the ability to answer. Thank you so much, and as always, peace and love.